Hello, my name is Ryan, and I'm the Tails End on YouTube and on CNN. And I just finished watching the speech of Barack Obama for the State of the Union of the United States of America. And the one thing that about anytime that you listen to Obama is it gives you tremendous hope. Hope that what he's saying and what we're doing for the country is actually going to work. The problem being is that with such big, huge, lofty goals and decisions to make, and people to appease, frankly, the world is never going to be the way that you necessarily plan it out. Things happen, earthquakes happen, hurricanes happen, human tragedies happen, things that we may not ever think about, like September 11th. And the way that we go about it in our country, we're so divided. Some people say we shouldn't spend, some people say we should spend, and frankly, I think that we should spend. Because we're in such a big hole. Now, I'm going to get overly technical here, and I'm going to say the direct reason, for the financial crisis that we have now today is the removal of the restrictions of the Glass-Steagall Act. For those of you who don't know what the Glass-Steagall Act is, it was basically put into place so investment banking, in the way that it was used for speculation in real estate in Florida during the 1920s, could not happen again. What it did is it made it so that retail banking, banks that you and I use, ATMs, etc., could not be coupled with ones that give home loans, could not be coupled with ones that only deal with bonds, and ones that deal with investment. The removal of this led to the economic bubble boom. The dot-com boom and bust was just one of those ones that you saw these companies who should not have been viable collapse. The same thing happened again, except for in a much bigger way, affecting much more people. The housing bubble collapsed. This was allowed because people who obviously did not have enough money were able to access loans in which they could never afford. Someone who makes $12 an hour should not have a $500,000 house. Someone who only makes $50,000 should not have a $1 million house. It's that simple. But we live in America, where things are easy and horrible all at the same time. And people always complain that we're going to go into socialism. The problem is that we were already a sort of socialist state. Although we don't have necessarily the safety nets as our European compatriots or even our Canadian compatriots, we had socialized a lot of things. Education is one big one that affects everyone. You could go to a private school, but you're always going to interact with people who go to a public school. I went to a public university. I went to a public school. I also went to a Catholic high school. But that's beyond the point. The point is that for the State of the Union, we know, you can feel, everyone knows, that the State of the Union kind of sucks right now. People are losing their jobs, and I'm thankful that I do have a white-collar job someplace close by. I have a roof over my head. I have plenty of food. Look how fat I am. And I'm thankful to have a job right now, because having no job is a pretty terrible situation, which was happening to me 2 years ago. The way that our country needs to go forward is the things that Barack Obama laid out. The big lofty ideals that we need to change the education system. We need to make sure that everyone who can afford to go to college, or people who can't afford to go to college. Because an educated workforce is one that brings us into the 21st century. And Although I disagree with a lot of what he says, such as removing the deficit. I think that we should remove the deficit. I also think at some point we should pay back the deficit. We should pay back our creditors, because at some point our creditors are going to say, no, you took too much money out. We're not lending you any more money. When that happens, our economy will collapse again. When the United States gets a cold, everyone else gets pneumonia. And it's one of those things that we have to reach out to other countries. We can't just leave it the way that it is today. Because if we were to leave it as it were today, we would still be with the Bush administration. Alone, unilateral, and facing lots of calamities, which could be helped by multilateral talks and ideas. But we're not. And I hope that many of his ideas do take off, but I hope a lot of them don't as well. I think that we have too much debt, and I think that we need to do something. I'm just not sure what. One thing that we probably need to do is nationalize banks, and I know that scares a lot of people. But it's better than having no banks. It's better than having to deal with times where you could not ever get a loan for a car. It also means that the bank, because it's covered by the government, won't fail. We had a national bank at some point. It was so unpopular. And as long as the commercial banks that we have open now are flourishing, times are okay. But they're not. During the Great Depression, we took over hundreds of banks because they were insolvent. We closed them. We need to do that action now. We need to evaluate all the banks. And we need to check if they are actually still okay. And if we could help, we can. And if we can't, then we shouldn't. We need to know where things are going. And we can't be scared about it. We can be anxious about it. And we can think deep thoughts about it. But we need action now. For a majority of Americans, we don't have that bad. They don't have that bad of a problem right now. But a 10% unemployment rate for the first time in 20 years is scary. And there are places in the United States where that number is nearer to 20. And we have to know that those people are hurting. And whenever people are hurting, worse things happen. And we're still okay. We still have running water. We still have food on the table. You still have electricity. So if you have any of those things, you are better off than 95% of the world. People don't realize that other people... I mean, just look at Slumdog Millionaire. Other people live in squalid conditions. No electricity, no shelter, no water, nothing. We are blessed to be in America. And hopefully we will continue to be blessed to be in America. Thank you for listening. Ryan from Los Angeles, also the Tail's End, signing off.